Frahm. I'm sitting in the middle of my instruments, and this is where I make my music. We are in Funkhaus in Berlin, and this is Saal 3, which was made for classical chamber music. What is fascinating about this room, it is from 1956. Basically any acoustic environment you can imagine was set up here. We even have reverb chambers, which I was able to reconnect, so now I can use an actual analog acoustic chamber. I didn't only record here, but most of the music for the record was recorded here. I have a little other studio space on a beautiful island in the Mediterranean Sea. Germans know it, it's Mallorca. And there's a beautiful old well I have access to where I can record inside. And that well has an even more crazy sounding reverb than our Funkhaus reverb. And so I had to fly there sometimes to record certain sounds in that well, which was a whole lot of fun because it doesn't sound anything like a real reverb. It sounds very artificial, but it has a sense of physicality to it, which for me I think is the main inspiration, is purely sound. What I'm really interested in is physical feeling which sound can produce, and for me it basically comes from playing acoustic instruments. When I'm playing a note, I feel it in my fingers, I feel the vibration, I can feel the physical tension from the strings, and it all creates like a really beautiful, inspiring sound to me. Also my piano sound for this record was not a typical piano sound. It was this little Danish piano, which I found a couple of years ago in Denmark, which I bought for 50 euros and put it in my car and drove it home. It's a very small piano. And when I mic'd it in a way I wanted to mic it, and I prepared it with my technique of dampening the sound and so on, I discovered that I even liked it better than the big shiny grand piano, and so I played that quite a lot more, which is funny because it's by all means not the greatest instrument, but it has a lot of soul, and there's a lot of music inside it. And so my whole life I was basically going after real instruments and trying to get unusual sounds out of them. And so building the studio was basically just like building a big instrument, which I visioned for over years and years and years. It was a workflow which I had in mind, which I could finally try out here. And that workflow became also the core inspiration for the recent album. All my instruments are basically very normal instruments. You see just a normal piano, mellotron, which has been on Earth since the 60s. I have a real pipe organ, which is controlled by a MIDI keyboard here, so it is basically like a pipe organ, which we can bring on tour, which we'll bring also to the concerts. And I have some Juno synthesizers, which are very generic synthesizers, I have to say, but they work nice for life because they don't break very easily. The things which really made a difference for the record technically were some unusual instruments, a harmonium, which I found here in Funkhaus. Somebody left it and it was in really bad shape. A harmonium is basically a pump organ. You pump air with your feet inside the instrument, and then when you press down a key, it will release air through a piece of metal which is vibrating and making a sinus tone. This is all old school stuff basically. It's a little bit like the studio, it's a little bit like people would work decades ago. But yeah, now it feels like it's a new thing because we almost forgot how that was. And I'm rediscovering it here, and I can only say it is wonderful. It is also a curse sometimes. I thought we would build organ. I made 3 modules to put the pipes in 3 cases, so they break up a little bit. It is a little bit of a sad situation because we cannot put the pipes on stage. We have to put them off stage because you still mic them with microphones, and the bleed into the microphones from the surrounding sounds from stage and from the venue is so loud that you get a really bad sound. So in the end they need to be in a separate room and will remain invisible. People asked me if I couldn't really make a sampled version out of it for live tours, and I said I thought about it and it would not sound that good. You know, we have to bring it, even though it will look like I'm playing a sampler. So this is quite the idiocy about also this tour. You bring all the real things, and people in the end cannot really tell what is real and what is not, and probably they also don't care 100%. But I think for me it's very important that I care, and if I'm not inspired, it won't be inspiring for the people.